Ultimate Collectibles here. First of all, before I start, I want to let you know I cannot get Lion-O into focus, which may be a blessing for your eyes, not to let the cat out of the bag yet. But I'm here to review a piece that I'm guessing there's not going to be too many reviews for two reasons. Number one is not a lot of people had the balls to pull the trigger on this guy. And number two, not a lot of people have the balls to say that they pulled the trigger when they really did. But I have no balls, so no, wait. Ultimate Collectibles here with Sideshow's brand new Thundercat statue. This is Lion-O, 1/5 scale. Just arrived from Sideshow. There is an edition size of 400 for the exclusive version, which runs at $450, and an edition size of 800 for the collectors that runs about $15 cheaper. So this was $450. I like saying that, $450. The difference between the exclusive and the collectors was the portrait. So the exclusive version came with this additional roaring portrait that you see here. And the collectors just has the traditional closed mouth portrait that is shown. I ordered this from Sideshow on day one because I have their Mumra statue, which I have reviewed, so go check that out if you haven't seen it yet. And I wanted him obviously to pair with it because I grew up in the 80s, so Thundercat cartoon is very nostalgic to me. I really like going back to my childhood memories, and to be honest with you, for me, a lot of collecting is about that. Came in one small box from Sideshow. It was a very small box, surprisingly. The base is one piece. Lion-O minus his two hands and sword and head are one piece. So including the exclusive switch out, there were 6 pieces. Very easy to put together. Pegs, magnets. The sword is permanently attached to the hand, just kind of a heads up on that. But I ordered him day one PO. He arrived yesterday, delayed because of some of the weather going on in the States right now. But there's a lot I'm trying to articulate on how to say about this statue, so let's just jump right in and talk about him. So I think the concept and design, I just want to let the cat out of the bag. I think they were a miss. And this was known to me before I bought this, so I went ahead and took the chance because sometimes statues are better in real life, and I was wrong, which happens quite often actually. But the concept is Lion-O is the leader of the Thundercats, half man, half lion. They're all cat-like species. Well, here he is sitting on a combination of both a mountain and the Thundercats' lair. There's kind of incorporations of both in here. So he's sitting in a very Richard Simmons type pose, wearing some very spandexy armor. At the top of the mountain, very victorious, holding in his right hand his sword, I can't remember the name of it, and his left hand is his infinity gauntlet. I think it was called the cat shield something, I can't remember. But he's sitting there victorious, very happy. I don't like the pose. I don't like the execution of it. I think he doesn't look menacing. When I think of Lion-O or a lion, very muscular, very big, very strong, very fast. They definitely got the athletic part of him, but as we're going to talk about in the sculpt and design, there's not really a lot of muscles. He doesn't have a lot of mass. I think you can do a good job combining both of those, and this was a total miss. He looks like he needs to eat, to be honest with you. And then again, we're going to talk more about this in the sculpture and paint. His armor looks like spandex, which doesn't seem right. And then another big thing with the design that really threw me off is they had the opportunity to hide his seam line with his portraits, and it looks like they tried to do it, and it was a miserable fail because it's very obvious that you can see it right here. It may not show well in the camera, but trust me, it's there. So I don't like the concept. I think the design was a miss. Putting him in, there were no issues, but I'm, as you can already tell, not a fan of this piece, and it's gonna get even worse, but let's just get to it. Paint and sculpt starting at the bottom. So as I stated, this is kind of a combination between the Thundercats' lair and a mountain that's incorporated together. And I think on the silver parts, there's some good paint, but it looks cheap. It looks plasticky, the sculpt does, and the mountain's even worse. The paints are okay, but there's a lot of issues. It looked like it was professionally painted. I'm not a fan of the factory they used, and again, this could be a factory that they use with quite a few pieces, but it looks like a toy, it looks cheap, it looks plastic, and I'm really not trying to be biased here. I've examined this twice. This is actually my second review, so I'm trying to be a little bit nicer. And when I say second review, I reviewed it once and I'm re-recording over it, which I've never done before. Moving on to Lionel, first of all, his feet, they look strange. So first of all, there's not a lot of definition between his toes. His nails look strange. This may be accurate to the cartoon, but I don't really know. I never looked at his feet during the cartoon. Then on his wrist, he has a gauntlet that looks okay, and then the gauntlets are also on his shins and knees, and it's very flat, both the paint and the sculpt. Not really a lot of detail to it. There's not a lot of definition either, so it's not clean, crisp cut, if you know what I mean. Then moving on to his bottom torso where his hair is showing on his legs. First of all, as I alluded to in the concept and design, there is no really strong definition, which this is a lion, so there should be some muscular legs, but not really a lot in there. There's only a few different colors of paint, and then it's hard to tell in the pictures, but there's some areas where they completely missed hair sculpt. I don't know if it was a quality issue or if it was sculpted that way, but there's no hair where there should be. So that's a sad miss. And then the other horrible part about his lower body is his Richard Simmons armor shorts. They're glistening. There's not really a lot of color variation other than the light blue and the dark blue, but they look like tight spandex shorts. They don't look like armor. And again, there's not a lot of definition. It looks like almost the paint and the sculpt is mixing together. So it almost looks like a half-assed job. His belt looks very average. Nothing really to write home about. And again, there's no clean or clear, crisp definition to that. His upper torso does get somewhat better. The hair and the musculature looks a lot better. It's a lot darker hair. I think that helps the sculpt and helps bring it out, especially on his torso and his arms. A lot of muscle definition. I like saying muscle definition. And then his armor, the front breastplate looks, the front breastplate looks very good, especially with the Thundercat symbol. I think that was the eye of something. Eye of Thundera. Man, I can't remember. I can't believe I remembered that. And I don't like the color of blue they used. However, that same piece of armor on his back looks like it's about to fall off, even though it's sculpted on there, so it's obviously not. I don't like how it sets on the armor piece below. It just looks off to me, and again, I have no good reason of why it's off. It just looks off. Then I do think his biceps were a good job. Again, it matches some of the definition we talked about in his torso of the hair and the muscles and the different colors of paint. I do like that. But as you move up, especially to his right hand holding the sword, he has a different color paw, which is very clear. The transition isn't the best. It looks like they just taped it off and started spraying a new color. And then his right hand looks horrible. Just not only the sculpt looks like an old man, it almost looks like Skeletor's hand with the nails on the other side. It's a big miss to me. The sword, however, does look very good. It feels like real metal, and it has a lot of defined sculpt and definition in there. And then on his left hand is Infinity Gauntlet, and I can't remember what this is called, but I don't like it. And I think the reason I don't like it is the position of it. It looks very, very strange to me. The colors look, it doesn't look old or new. It's hard to define. It almost has some dull gold and copper and black and brown in it. And I think it's just the position of his hand. I tried to do it, and the only way someone ever makes that is when they have a cramp. I don't know. And then moving on to his portrait, first of all, they did a good job with the hair. I like the flow of the hair. I like the definition of the different strands. I like the different colorings of almost maroon, dark red, and blacks they used in there. It looks very good. It looks very cartoon accurate. It reminds me of Lionel. However, his face is a completely different story. There's no definition, no lines, no sculpt showing any facial features, which part of that is because he's a lion, but you can't even tell this is Lionel. It doesn't look like him at all. I think the paint app is very bad. It's very flat, very bland. The paint they did around his eyes make him look like a drag queen. The eyebrows are a different color than his hair, believe it or not, even though I think they were supposed to be the same, and they look like a kid painted them on. The mouth sculpt looks okay, looks good. The paint in there is not bad at all. But this face is a major miss for me, and to me this is the better of the two faces. Before I wrapped it up, I did want to put Mumra and Lino side by side so you could get some scaling. They do scale very well together. My overall final thoughts, Jerry Springer, my final thoughts on Lino. While it is a statue I purchased and wanted, it is one I will be returning to Sideshow because I am dissatisfied. In my opinion, I think there was a big miss of what could have been when it comes to Lino's pose, his design, the sculpt, and the paint, particularly on his lower half of the body and his portrait. He should have been more muscular, more menacing, and the paint should have popped quite a bit more. Is that how Jerry Springer talks? I highly doubt it. That guy's kind of a badass. He was a mayor, and then I think he still has that show. Has anyone been to that show? If you had, hit me up on there. That'd be cool. Overall, I did not say any pieces of fruit if that's what you were looking for, so you don't have to go. Actually, I shouldn't tell you that, so you can watch it again and give me more and more hours. That would be funny. If you like this, give me a like. I have 3 or 4 more reviews of newer pieces I am doing this week, so very excited about that if I get 2 of them. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. Take care.